a dream that became an empire. Centuries ago, when the map of the world looked very different, a story was beginning in the lands of Anatolia that would change history for more than 600 years. It was an age of uncertainty. Great empires were weakening. Wars, political struggles, and power battles dominated the region. Across the mountains and plains of Anatolia, small Turkish tribes fought daily for survival. Among those tribes was one led by a young and ambitious warrior named Osman I. No one could have imagined that this young tribal leader would one day lay the foundation of one of the greatest empires in world history. Osman was different from other leaders. He was not only a skilled warrior, but also a visionary. While others focused on surviving the present, Osman dreamed about the future. One night, he experienced a remarkable dream. He saw a bright moon entering his chest. From that moon grew a magnificent tree whose branches stretched across Asia, Europe, and Africa. Beneath its shade stood prosperous cities. Rivers flowed peacefully. People lived in safety and prosperity. When Osman shared the dream with Sheikh Edebali, the wise scholar told him, "Osman, your descendants will establish a mighty empire." Those words changed his life forever. In 1299, Osman declared an independent state. At that moment, the story of the Ottoman Empire began. A small tribal principality had taken its first step toward becoming a global empire. Blood, steel, and victory. As Osman's reputation spread across Anatolia, his growing power began to alarm the Byzantine rulers. They understood that Osman was no longer just a tribal chief. If left unchecked, he could become a major threat. The Byzantines gathered a large army and prepared for war. Thousands of soldiers marched toward Ottoman territory. The night before the battle, silence filled the Ottoman camp. Some soldiers sharpened their swords, others prayed. Many thought about their families. At dawn, the two armies stood face to face. War drums echoed across the battlefield. Horses charged forward. Arrows darkened the sky. The battle had begun. The Byzantine army was larger and better equipped, but Osman relied on strategy instead of numbers. He divided his forces into smaller units and launched quick attacks against the enemy. Again and again, the Byzantines were caught off guard. As the battle reached its peak, Osman personally led a decisive charge. His sword flashed in the sunlight. His soldiers followed him with unwavering determination. By sunset, the battlefield belonged to the Ottomans. It was a small victory compared to what would come later, but it sent a clear message to the world: a new power was rising. The Siege of Karahisar. With every victory, Osman's confidence grew, but he knew that defeating armies alone would not be enough. To build a true state, he needed to conquer fortified cities and castles. One of the strongest was Karahisar Fortress. Built high on a mountain, protected by thick walls and experienced soldiers, it seemed impossible to conquer. Many believed the fortress could withstand any attack. Osman chose patience over haste. He surrounded the fortress and began a long siege. Supply routes were cut off, food shipments stopped. No help could reach the defenders. Days became weeks, weeks became months. Inside the fortress, food supplies began to run low. Hope slowly faded. Then one night, Ottoman scouts discovered a weak section in the fortress wall. Osman immediately ordered a secret operation. Under the cover of darkness, his soldiers approached the wall. Hours later, part of the fortress collapsed. The Ottoman warriors charged through the opening. The defenders fought fiercely. But by sunrise, the Ottoman banner flew above the fortress. Karahisar had fallen. It was one of Osman's greatest victories, yet even greater challenges lay ahead. The Battle of Bapheus. By 1302, the Byzantine Empire had decided that Osman had to be stopped. A massive army was assembled. Thousands of experienced soldiers marched toward Anatolia. Their mission was simple: destroy Osman and end the Ottoman threat forever. The two armies met near Bapheus. The Byzantines had greater numbers, the Ottomans had greater determination. The battle began with a powerful Byzantine assault. The Ottoman line struggled under the pressure, but Osman had prepared for this moment. He allowed the enemy to advance. Then Ottoman archers unleashed a devastating rain of arrows from both flanks. Confusion spread through the Byzantine ranks. Their formation collapsed. Osman seized the opportunity. Drawing his sword, he led a massive counterattack. The Ottoman cavalry thundered across the battlefield. The Byzantine army broke apart. By sunset, the battle was over. The Ottomans had achieved a historic victory. News of the triumph spread throughout Anatolia. People now understood that Osman's state was becoming a serious power. The dream of an empire was becoming reality. The Siege of Bursa. After the victory at Bapheus, Osman turned his attention toward a city that would define the future of the Ottoman state. That city was Bursa. Rich, prosperous, and heavily fortified, Bursa was one of the most important cities in the region. Its walls were strong, its markets were wealthy, its strategic location made it invaluable. Osman knew that conquering Bursa would transform his state forever. The siege began. Months passed, then years. The city remained surrounded. Supplies became scarce. Both sides endured hardship. As time passed, Osman grew older. His health began to decline, yet he never abandoned his dream. From distant hills, he often gazed toward Bursa's walls. He knew that one day the city would belong to his people. But fate had other plans. Before the city could be conquered, Osman fell seriously ill. On his deathbed, he called for his son, Orhan. Looking into his son's eyes, he said, "My greatest dream is Bursa. Promise me that you will conquer it." Soon afterward, Osman passed away. The empire mourned. But his dream lived on, the conquest of Bursa and the rise of an Ottoman capital. After Osman's death, leadership passed to his son, Orhan. Orhan understood the importance of fulfilling his father's final wish. He strengthened the Siege of Bursa and continued the campaign with determination. The city was wealthy and well-defended, but years of isolation had weakened its ability to resist. Finally, in 1326, Bursa surrendered. The city entered Ottoman hands. When Orhan received the news, he reportedly looked toward the sky and remembered his father. Bursa became the first major capital of the Ottoman state. New institutions were created, mosques were built, trade flourished. For the first time, the Ottoman state began to resemble a true empire rather than a tribal principality. Yet Orhan's ambitions stretched beyond Anatolia. Across the waters of the Bosphorus lay Europe, and Europe would soon become the next stage of Ottoman expansion. The first step into Europe. Following the conquest of Bursa, the Ottoman state entered a new era. Orhan understood that the future of the empire depended on expansion beyond Asia. Across the Dardanelles lay the Balkans, a region rich in resources, cities, and strategic opportunities. At the same time, the Byzantine Empire was weakening from within. Civil wars and political rivalries divided its leaders. The Ottomans saw an opportunity. Orhan's son Suleiman Pasha led the effort to establish an Ottoman presence in Europe. In 1352, Ottoman forces began securing positions near Gallipoli. Then in 1354, a devastating earthquake struck the region. Many Byzantine fortifications collapsed. Panic spread among the local population. Recognizing the moment, Suleiman Pasha moved quickly. Ottoman troops entered Gallipoli and secured the city. For the first time, the Ottoman Empire possessed a permanent foothold in Europe. The news shocked the Christian kingdoms of the Balkans. Many rulers suddenly realized that a new power had crossed into Europe. Gallipoli became the gateway. Through it came soldiers, settlers, merchants, and administrators. The Ottoman presence in Europe expanded rapidly. Although Suleiman Pasha died soon afterward, his achievement changed history forever. He had opened the door to Europe, and once that door opened, the Ottoman advance could not be stopped. Ahead lay new wars, new victories, and new rulers. Among them was Murad I, who would lead the empire into one of the most dramatic periods of expansion in its history.